What up, y'all? Josh and EC here once again with another quality video.
So, as you guys can tell by the title, we have a juicy topic to talk to you guys about today.
Yeah.
It was actually what?
I think this is our first Eat and Chill.
In here?
Yeah. I don't
We're
remember.
having a lot of first moments,
Yeah, I
aren't
don't
we?
remember this whole vibe
I
going
think
down.
you're right though. Yep. It's only right to have a really juicy one to start off. So this conversation actually stemmed from our most recent video, Love 'em or Leave 'em, on our channel. Me and Josh, after we were done filming it and the video got up, ended up just having like one of our mini conversations that like went a little bit deeper to the point where we were like, we should definitely do a video on this.
So we said we were going to discuss it on camera, kind of cut our conversation short so we wouldn't like, let's not get all the juice out, let's just save it for this. So we're just going to continue the conversation. It might flow into another topic, but you know, who knows? You guys are here. You guys love hearing us talk, and I guess we'd be spitting some knowledge every now and then. So here we go.
But before we hop into this, just to show you guys real quick what we have in front of us.
We eating on that Subway. We eating on that Subway.
What did you get?
I got a Philly cheesesteak, but I get mine weird. Like normally Philly cheesesteaks aren't supposed to have all the fixings on it, but I literally put all the veggies on there because I feel like they're good nutrients. And I'm the type to just eat anything, so like I'm not really like going.
You are a garbage disposal.
Yeah.
And I think it's like their salami. It's like salami and pepperoni.
It's Italian.
Italian sandwich, right? With
all the fixings.
Oh, you got all the fixing on it.
Yeah. Just no tomatoes. I know you don't like tomatoes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But all right, want to say grace and hop into
grace
this?
and then hop into this. Lord, bless this food they're about to receive for nourish for our bodies. Bless this food so it can bless our minds, so it can bless our mouths, and let us spit some knowledge to these followers that are watching us here. Bless them as they watch this video. Bless those who are new to the game. Bless those who are coming in the future, who will see this later down the road. Who knows? But help it to bless everybody that's in this little vicinity. In your name we pray. Amen.
First of all, I think we both need to take a bite.
Okay.
Regardless of who starts.
I'm down with that.
Because this is usually an issue when we get to talking.
So, the conversation between us left off at, we oftentimes see, and this is not trying to like make this an absolute like every time, whatever. But we've noticed a lot of the time, women accept bare minimum effort from men in the hopes that they find love.
Right. Hence the love them or leave them. Like this is why it stemmed from that conversation, because some of the questions that we get sometimes, we really look at each other like, do people really struggle with like seeing clearly how this is a toxic situation or whatever?
Sadly enough, I think it's like between y'all, when y'all say like you're setting your standards too high, you're never gonna find a man like that if you set your standards that high. When in actuality, you're a prime example. If you set your standards high, most men would probably walk away. But you found one guy that was up for the challenge. And you know why? You were worth fighting for. In my eyes, you were worth fighting for. I wanted you. You're like, I made it plain, clear as day that I wanted you, so I was willing to do the things necessary to make you comfortable with me being in your space.
And nobody's perfect at all, but the whole, for me as a woman, my terminology when I say bare minimum is like, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's like you're accepting the bare minimal effort from someone. So I guess I can just use my example. We've discussed a lot about how just like in particular fathers tend to do bare minimal things, quote unquote. I'm gonna quote unquote that because it's like they're the provider that makes sure the wife and the kids are taken care of, clothes on the back, food on the table. But a lot of like them think that's succeeding, like that's enough. To me, that's the bare minimum, because mentally it's also talking to your kids, seeing where they're at, checking in, how are you doing? Now, it's not just to like completely put like blame, because we're also cognitive enough to understand that people are a product of their environment. It's bare minimal, but then you have to dig deeper on like, well, what was their father like to them? And then before that, if we're talking Black community, what was the father before their, like what was your grandfather like,
if
right?
That father was even around.
Right, and when you right.
Because there was a whole lot of civil everything.
Right.
Black people getting killed off left and right.
But I was gonna bring up the slavery thing too. Like I think that we're not far removed from that at all. And I think a lot of times people feel like, you know, that's something of the past. No, but it still heavily affects the Black community in particular,
in present
day. So I don't want to say like us talking about like bare minimum in that particular sense is us directly coming for Black men or fathers in general, because we do have the understanding that it's a cycle, but it's also something where it's like it should be acknowledged, addressed, and discussed. And we have a platform to be able to do that. So I just don't want anybody to get offended or feel away, but understand that this is a necessary conversation.
And I feel like ladies particularly need to hear this, because it sounds like a lot of hard settling is happening.
Yeah.
And I just want to encourage a lot of women out there to stop hard settling for the BS.
And demand more.
Like, honestly, demand more. There's a lot of people that are in relationships right now that still accept bare minimum stuff. And if you're in one of those situations, you definitely should be speaking up. Because again, you're entitled to your happiness.
And a lot of women, I think that bare minimum from him is better than anything else you'll find out there. And that's not necessarily true. We're kind of going to be jumping around too, because this is how our conversations go off camera. But remember, I brought up like college and how I noticed, like, for example, a lot of guys don't know how to do their own laundry. We are typically the ones that have to learn how to kind of be like men and women, like learn that independence. Like I was bringing up to Josh the example of like baby dolls or whatever. A lot of girls are given that when they're little girls, and we learn how to nurture and take care of the baby doll and just, you know, be almost like a mom as a child. And it basically trickles into like adulthood, yet like boys are given toys and Legos and guns and stuff like that. Like that, those nurturing qualities are just those other qualifications that I think would put you above bare minimum parenting. Boys aren't, it's not really instilled in you guys at all to learn those type of things. But for us as women, like usually the moms are the ones that have to schedule the doctor's appointments and make sure the kids are, like their lunches are good, or like just that type of stuff. And that's why we like had gotten to that conversation too, of just like how women don't necessarily have it fair. It's not like a fair playing field if you don't have the correct partner. If you have a partner that gives it, like in all aspects of his life, bare minimal effort, then the marriage, the family, all of that is never gonna be fully fair.
Sadly enough, bare minimum comes in a bunch of different shapes and sizes. If your man's working 12 hours a day, comes home and he's just tired, like it's hard to ask somebody to do more, like do more.
Okay, let me stop you real quick. So I have a best friend whose grandma was like a mom of 8. I think that 2 of the kids she like adopted from her sister. She used to have to work almost a 12-hour shift, if not a 12-hour shift. Wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning, set up breakfast, go to work, come back during lunch break, set up lunch, go back to work, come back home after work around dinner time, clean up the house, make sure the kids are good. Like, this is what I mean. So I don't like the excuse. Like, I can understand somebody being tired from a 12-hour shift, but it's like, nobody worries about a woman and how tired she is after a 12-hour shift. Even if you're just a stay-at-home mom, that's still heavy. That's heavy.
And single
work.
mothers have a lot.
And that's exactly. And that you don't think the single moms do 12-hour shifts on top of taking care of their kids by themselves? This is what I mean by bare minimum stuff. And I also feel like obviously you can't predict the future, but even when I'm talking about like setting your standards, having your expectations of your partner and stuff as a woman is super important, because I don't think a lot of people think longevity in terms of like, is this a person that I can have a kid with and the kid will be mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually taken care of?
By both parties.
By both parties.
Sadly enough, I don't think emotional intelligence is a requirement amongst men.
It's not.
Not often, at least. Now, in this relationship...
Unless your woman demands it.
Yeah, in this relationship, emotional intelligence was demanded. And so I either had to pony up or just get out the way. And I feel like, oftentimes, women will take a good man that has a good job, seems like he's set together, but doesn't even think about the emotional intelligence side.
Bare minimum, that's what I mean.
Doesn't even think about it.
Bare minimum. Good on paper. He can pay the bills, he can make sure food's on the table, clothes on our back, our kids will never struggle for anything. To me, that's still bare minimum. Because I wanna be at peace and know, which is why you're gonna be my husband, that if I'm not around or whatever, you will be able to have a deep conversation with our kid, and they'll be open and willing to be expressive with you on what's going on in their life or where their head is at, because you open that platform for them. I'm not putting all the blame on men, but I also think that sometimes they give themselves a little bit too heavy of a pat on the back.
Because they're paying bills.
Yeah, and that's not for the, but I've seen on the other side too, because I don't want this to seem like super pessimistic. I've also seen men, especially black fathers, be super present in their kids' lives.
That's what you're telling women to aim for, though.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely.
And I feel like you're entitled to have a partner equally yoked.
Yeah.
In all facets. Not just money.
Yeah.
All aspects facets. I'm talking mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And then like, it's crazy because I feel like guys often do this trade-off of like, if I'm bringing in the money, don't ask me for nothing.
That's what I mean by bare minimum. They really feel like because I'm doing this, because I'm bringing in, and then, like I said though, it can trickle back to what the cycle was. If they saw that's how their dad acted naturally. If nobody calls them on it, then naturally that's how they're gonna be.
Yeah. At this point in time, we're at the point of like, you know better, you do better. Generation before us, they didn't have technology to tell them, like they didn't have Instagram to compare other black fathers to other black fathers. It was just you and your household. You dealt with your dad, your dad's BS, and that's how all you know about what dadding looks like.
Facts.
We're in a different generation where like good dads are now being able to be seen being good dads.
Right.
Like emotionally intelligent men are like, this is new news for people. Like, oh snap, men aren't just like workers who.
Ooh, you just brought up a good point. Because I do feel like, and rightfully so, those men deserve to get praise. But it's interesting how social media praises that when you see that from a father more than you see it from a woman. From a woman, it's expected for you to be nurturing and be there for your kids and, you know, give that energy. But when a man does it, it's heavily applauded.
Yes.
Rightfully so, but you get what I mean? Like, that's interesting in itself.
I totally get where you're coming from on that. But it's like one of those things where it's like women have always kind of been on a ish when it comes to taking care of business, when it like single mothers. They
weren't given a choice.
They weren't given a choice.
That's what I'm saying.
They weren't given a choice. Whereas many ain't-ish dads could just walk away from the situation, and they do.
They do.
It still happens.
That's below bare minimum.
And like, but that's like more. It seems like more of the common norm. So when men deviate from that and
from
actually
walking away,
yes, when they deviate from showing up and they do the exact opposite, it's like, no, I'm not gonna be a ain't-ish dad and walk away from my kid. I'm gonna do above and beyond. I'm gonna be emotionally intelligent. I'm gonna be invested in my son's life. These kind of things is like new news, to be honest, because I can't say for the generation like our parents, I can say maybe they knew better. The generation before that, I can't tell you.
I agree.
What kind of dadding they knew what was possible.
I agree, because my mom has told me stories about my grandparents' parents, and like. That's what I'm saying. We're not far off from that trauma. That trauma has, just trickled down. So, I also want to clarify too, while we're talking about this, and just like in particular, I guess we're kind of targeting like men's lack of emotional intelligence or whatever. Well, a lot of you guys who have followed our journey know that Josh wasn't like this like our whole relationship.
Oh no.
So I want to be clear, like. It's teachable. Exactly. Like you have to also kind of be willing. So a lot of girls who will like send in their scenarios asking for our advice about like, oh, my boyfriend won't open up or blah, blah, blah. That to me is immediately a red flag, because it's a difference between like you don't know how to and you're not going to.
Sometimes I feel like in those kind of scenarios, women don't put their foot down. It's like you give them a two-way go. Like, you want to talk about it? No,
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's easy. No, I don't. All right.
Nah, demand it.
I need to know where you're at mentally.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this relationship is not gonna work.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna work. I don't know where you stand. I don't know where I stand in your life. I don't know how you feel.
And then my thing is too, like, if he's not able to do that with you, you think that bringing a seed into the world, all of a sudden it's gonna click and be like, well, let me be that. No. Because it was never expected from him in just y'all's relationship. So how is he gonna know how to naturally all of a sudden be invested, I like your word, invested mentally, emotionally, spiritually in your kid's life? The reason I take out physically, I think that's a way a lot of dads try to bond with their sons and stuff like that, right?
Go play some sports.
But to me, that's bare minimum.
Yeah.
That's bare minimum.
Because at the end of the day, sports does teach you a lot, but it's pretty surface level. In terms of like, you can preach to your son, work hard, the whole, the surface level speech. Work hard, learn how to build a team, builds morale, builds muscle, cool, you're off to a great start.
Right.
Whereas like, some kids don't want to play sports. Some kids might want to be like poets. Kid might want to play the violin. What you gonna do? Right.
And I think that you also forcing your significant other, if they are like closed out to talking and expressing themselves and stuff, it's important to force that agenda, because I think that for a lot of men, it's unintentional bare minimum energy.
I think another good point to bring up, because it's inevitable that black trauma is being trickled down until we do better. And I think slowly there's a cycle of, emotionally intelligent men starting to emerge out of the rough, like more men are being conscious of the fact that like, yo, the way my dad with me wasn't.
It wasn't it. I didn't get enough. I want to do better.
Where we need to get better as men is holding each other accountable. And that junk is tough.
Yeah, man, go ahead.
That junk, I'm not gonna cap, that junk is tough because you gonna be most times all by yourself when you bring that up. If some man says like he got a side piece in a group full of men, you might be the only lone wolf to say, yo, let's F up.
Yeah, and that's a problem. But it's true.
That accountability system is trash amongst men. I'm not going to flex that accountability system. And what I appreciate about my friends, we've all grown up to the point where like now we really do hold each other accountable to stuff like that. We look at each other like,
what you doing?
What are you doing?
Like you're moving weird. And I think those type of conversations are necessary too for there to be less bare minimal men though.
It's really, sadly enough, it's not even, the onus is really not on women. It's really on men making it generally acceptable to have more than the bare minimum.
More on it. And like, I think it's interesting too, because I think with your boys, you guys have a very unique and beautiful situation because you guys don't just talk about sports or don't just talk about women or whatever. Y'all like have your little book clubs and like, you know, y'all are super intellectual with each other. I think it's unfortunate because I think that's really rare, especially in black boy friend groups or men. Let me not call y'all boys. Black young men. Friend groups and stuff, and that in itself also shapes you guys' emotional intelligence though. Even if you aren't directly talking about emotions, y'all reading a book about ways of a superior man, or y'all reading a book about, what was the other book you guys recently read?
Blood in My Eye by George Jackson.
And then like discussing that with each other and seeing where each other's mental is, or I took this passage like this. Like that in itself shapes and grows your emotional intelligence.
Yes, because it goes below the surface.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of guy talk is surface.
So y'all are.
It's sports, women, or what's the next move.
But it's never, how are you doing?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, what are you going through? Are you really good? I hate when you're like, hey, what's up, dog? You been good? Yeah, I've been straight.
Right.
That's it.
Right. And
that's where the conversation dies right there. It's never, unless the other man prides, and then another man's gonna be like, bro, you acting soft. And then they're gonna get it.
Yep.
But here's the paradigm shift. From young, y'all been taught that your emotions are powerful.
Yeah.
From young, we've been told that our emotions are weakness.
You did bring that up yesterday.
Signs of weakness.
Yeah.
If as a dad, old school dads would do this. If your daughter got hurt and started crying, dad pick you up, console you. It's okay.
Right.
Where's the thing? Kiss it. Everything's all good. You know, like really try and work you through your emotions. Boy gets hurt, get up. What you crying for?
Right. And that, to me, in some cases, is toxic.
No, not in some cases, in all cases. Because
I didn't want to say straight up,
emotions are normal for men, women,
What did
everybody.
you say? When we first met, you said you only had two emotions.
I
like
only
happy
had
and
two.
pissed.
I didn't know the difference between any other one. If I felt like if I was sad, it wouldn't come out as sadness. I'd be mad. I'd go punch something.
Or like embarrassed. Like a lot of people's reactions, they don't realize it. It comes from a different emotion than just like you being angry off rip. If somebody tries your life in front of a group of people, your initial, like that initial feeling of anger isn't necessarily the initial feeling. The initial feeling might be like embarrassment or you hurt my feelings. But you're looked at as soft in the community, female or men, to be like, you're hurting my feelings right now. Nah, you're gonna instantly get mad because you feel like that's how you have to defend yourself. And I think in certain situations it's okay to have that, but like in your intimate relationships with people you love, this doesn't even have to just be like significant others. It can just be like friends, like you just said, like with your guy friends and stuff. There has to be an established safe zone, I feel like. Like it has to be.
It takes good men being able to like, I think it's one at a time.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's like you take one good man, pull another man aside and be like, look, I'm not gonna judge you if you cry right now.
Right, yeah.
Because it looks like you're hurting. That kind of stuff is crucial. And I don't think men even understand that like the emotion is powerful when it even comes to relationships with your significant other, because it's different if you hurt my feelings and I'm just mad and I give you, like, you don't know, you really don't, it doesn't register with you what happened. You just think you pissed me off.
Yeah.
But if I come to you and say, you hurt me.
And you've done that before and it really,
boom,
boom, it does. It's like, dang,
hard shot.
I hurt his feelings though. And I think too, because men have been raised to be these like almost like soldiers, kind of
emotionless beings.
Yeah, kind of like, I think that a lot of us women sometimes, and this is where I'm gonna call out women actually. Women sometimes want to be that negative, toxic person to say you're being soft. If you're, like, you know what I mean? Like if a guy is trying to share with you that you hurt his feelings, don't write him off. The reason I wanted to bring that up in the first place too is because I've seen firsthand women be super like mean and belittling and just cold, which doesn't even open up a safe space for him to feel like he can talk to you on an emotional level or open up in that way, because it's like
it's a societal thing.
Yeah.
Society has created this narrative that men need to be emotionless. And if emotion is shown on the male side of things, it's a sign of weakness. I
was gonna say, because when we were first starting to date, I remember, I don't know if you call me emotional a lot or sensitive or something like that. And I remember one day we had a talk just about how it's like, people have put such a negative connotation on the word emotional or sensitive as if that's a bad thing, to be in tune with your feelings like that. And it's not. Like, at least I can express myself. I can tell you how I'm feeling right now in this moment and why.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
I think emotional control is the big thing. I think like being able to identify your emotions, cope with them, and then express them in a manner that's reasonable is probably one of the best skills to have in life. What's like men, women, I think both sides, because if you're overly emotional, then your emotions run the show. But if you can just like be in tune with like, okay, this is how I feel, but I can still make a decision outside of my emotions, it's like you get the best of both worlds. That's what we're going for, specifically in this relationship. I think we've gotten pretty close to like doggone perfect at it.
I would say.
But in the same note, we made this video in hopes that women would be more forthcoming with saying, express your emotions and really standing on it.
I don't want to say, because they've said it.
Demand.
Some of them are still not getting it. It's a demand at that point. Like, when I remember actually, it was probably like, you're one of us dating. I think I was trying to ask you, like, what's wrong? Like, I was asking you to basically express yourself to me. You basically told me no.
I was anti.
And I ended up telling you, like, well, I can't be with a partner who cannot open up to me and share with me how he's feeling and where he's at and stuff like that. Because that's what I've gotten. I'm a product of my environment. My environment has always been me and my mom, and me and my mom are best friends. And it's because we always had that open level of communication and dialogue throughout my whole life. Like the Sunday reflection, like a lot of it really, and that, even when I think about it in that way, like it's powerful, like parenting just in general, because if my mom didn't set that tone with me, then I wouldn't have set that tone with us, and we wouldn't set that tone with our kids, or be sharing it on a platform that thousands of people can, help create healthier relationships for themselves. So that's why I'm saying it's so important to demand it from your partner. If those people that you're demanding it from at the time can't give that to you, somebody eventually will. You will find someone who's willing. That doesn't mean off rip when you meet they're gonna just be an open book, but somebody who's always willing to try. That's kind of how I feel like I figured out you're the one for me and stuff, because I think for the longest it was this, like, in my head, there's no such thing as perfection. But I think I used to like almost expect a perfect partner. No such thing as it. But for me, perfection and finding the one is more so finding someone who's always willing to try to do better and be a better version of themselves, for themselves as well as the relationship, right?
And I really feel like for a while, like, I think people think I busted in this relationship. You gave me one conversation and instantly like that I was emotionally intelligent.
Well, we shared years with them.
Yeah, you've seen... If you haven't watched the videos from beginning to end, you've kind of seen the journey of us. But for a long time, I was very hesitant to express myself. If there's men watching this, I get it, right? It's very uncomfortable. One, you don't even know what you're talking about the first 6 or 7 times. Like, you're like, I don't even know what this emotion really is. I don't know how to go deeper, because you just didn't do it for a long time.
You weren't taught.
And so it did take a couple tries. Like, you would ask what's going on, and I'd be like, I'm good. And you're like, that's not good enough. Then I'd say, like, I'd walk you through my day. You're like, it's still not good enough. And then, like, I'd tell you about an event that happened. And then you said, how does that make you feel? And then I don't know, man. And like, no, you can't use mad.
Right.
Because mad, that's normal. You know what mad is.
Because that was going to be my next question to you. Do you remember how I got, because I think that's what a lot of people are going to also wonder. I don't want to just leave them hanging like, well, how do I get that out of my dude? What was it for you that...
Well, one, you set the standard that you weren't going to accept this relationship if I didn't give any effort towards at least trying to start expressing my emotions. And then at first, I mean, you kind of accepted, lackluster emotional energy, but you were like, those are little wins. So it's like, okay, well, I got you to say something. I appreciate you for saying that. And then, like, you never held back expressing your emotions. So I got like a good guide as to like what that looks like. and then you're like, okay, so you see how I just explained it? That's the kind of energy I'm looking for you.
Okay.
Don't expect that off rip. Don't expect that today, tomorrow, next week.
Right.
But I want you to start working towards
kind of lead by example.
Yes.
Yeah.
And finally I started getting an idea of like, okay, so you can walk through how you're feeling. And then after a while, I started feeling how liberating it was to actually understand like, oh, I'm not mad.
My feelings are hurt.
Yeah, my feelings are hurt. I feel some type of way. Oh, okay. So I don't have to go get angry and like take my aggression out on everything. I can just kind of cope with it and be like, okay, how do I deal with sadness? How do I deal with loneliness? Or like, how do I deal with all these different, the emotion wheel? Have you seen that before?
No.
There's a lot.
But I think as you're even talking about this, it makes me kind of smile inside because I'm like, you have the tools necessary for when we have kids to have that conversation with them without me needing to be present and guided or directed. Right?
Yeah.
So I know that my equally yoked partner, even if I'm not around, if I'm handling business or whatever, you can handle it. And I think that's so important.
And I feel like for a long time, whenever things got emotional, I was passed off to my mom.
Yeah. That's and that goes back to the bare minimum stuff that I'm talking about. That's not fair.
Talk to your mom.
You should be able to talk to your dad or your mom.
Well, for a lot of time, my dad was working a lot, so like all I really had was my mom. By the time my dad got back, it was late. We retired. Like I don't think we were gonna have talks late at night, but still, I think those moments are important, especially when I become a parent. And I know there's like a lot of people out here, and maybe if you have some young kids, like maybe this is a perfect opportunity to like start realizing like everything that you do, especially from the age of 0 to 4, is crucial. How often do you actually talk to your kid?
And you know, they're so aware. It don't matter, like they are so aware. Like you can ask a 4-year-old, how are you? Or you don't even have to ask them, well, yes, you should still ask how are you, but they will pick up different signs if mommy and daddy aren't good.
They'll catch y'all vibes
They will
between
catch
each other.
all of it. So
I see little kids pick up on everything.
To me, those are good ages too to still be conversing with the child. I think too many people, and that's something that I respect so much about my mom too. She wasn't old school at all with how she raised me and my brother with the whole kids are to be seen, not heard. That's how like a lot of people her generation and the generation before her were like that. Like, what, you're a kid, like you don't have any. Even now, present day, I'm my mid 20s, and I've had a situation where I've had someone tell me like, that's not your place, stay in your place type thing. But it's like, I'm an adult now. Saying all that to say, it's super important to I feel like, I'm not even a parent yet, but I'm aware it's important to have an open dialogue with your kids and allow them to as well.
Women have to demand that from their men. Not ask, demand it. Because that is like emotional intelligence in a relationship will set your child up more than any money that you give them.
Period.
Those small things, the small details of life where men feel like that's doing too much, more often than not, are the things that change children's lives.
Yeah.
And not only that, bare minimum effort makes for a bare minimum lifestyle. And I'm sure, ladies, you don't want to be living no bare minimum lifestyle. So again, don't be afraid to demand more.
And if you don't get more, also be confident enough to be like, all right, well, this isn't for me if I can't do that.
Be real enough to be able to walk away
when
you're not getting more than the bare minimum.
Because demanding it isn't a threat. Demanding it is a promise. If you cannot do this for me, I promise you, I'm good. Yeah.
But that's all we have for you guys today.
Yeah, we know this was all over. This is how our conversations off camera go, y'all.
That's how our conversations go. This was a very random, sporadic kind of thing that we decided we were just gonna put on camera and just like rant about. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the rant. This kind of stuff is an ongoing conversation. Obviously, we had to kind of stop ourselves before we go on for the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
But these are good topics.
And we'd love for you guys to comment below if you relate to any of them, if you've experienced these things.
Go ahead and leave it down in the comment. Tell us your story too. I feel like this is really good empowerment time where you guys can empower each other to, demand more. Or if there's men in there, demand more from your friend groups. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our rambling, because we definitely rambled for most of this video. But it was something that needed to be said.
Yeah.
So we had to get it to you guys. Let us know down in the comment section if you have anything else that you would like us to ramble about in front of some food. But yeah, I think that's all we got today. As always, be on the lookout, more lit content coming you guys' way. But if you don't already know, I'm Hydrated Hero. She's Isimeme Edeko. Together we are Josh and Isi. Now you can follow one of us. You can follow two of us. You can follow all three of us. You might as well follow all three of us because we are happy, healthy, and hydrated on all 3. But other than that, y'all, until we meet again, peace,
love,
and grease,
and we out.
Hey, 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 subscribe. Hey, 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 new video. Hey, hey.